Welcome to all. Let us start with a quotation put forward by Thomas Jefferson. There is nothing more unequal than the equal treatment of unequal people. So, what is mentioned in this quotation is that we cannot give equal treatment to all unequal people. This quotation is true when we think of a classroom, where we know that a classroom consists of learners belonging to different backgrounds. In today's discussion, the topic is multicultural classroom, applying culturally responsive instructional strategies. So, this multicultural classroom, it is coming in the forefront when we think of today's social context and the classroom, which is a miniature representative of the society. So, here in today's session, the main objectives are to define the term multicultural education, identify the diversity prevalent in the present classrooms, adopt culturally responsive instructional strategies in the multicultural classroom. So let us see what we mean by this multicultural education. When we think of this concept which is emerging in the present classroom, it is an inclusive concept where we can see that it is used to describe a variety of school practices, programs and materials designed to help children from diverse groups to experience educational equality. So this definition was put forward by Bank, and we know that this educational equality is to be achieved within the classroom and within the school itself. So here we can see that how the classroom is a representative of a multicultural perspective. When we think of a classroom in multicultural perspective, we can see that there are different diversities like individual diversity, regional diversity, linguistic diversity, religious diversity, caste and tribal diversities. So here the students that come to our classroom, they belongs to different backgrounds, they belongs to different religious context, backgrounds, linguistic backgrounds, then caste, then tribal, all the things we can see that this diversity is reflecting in a multicultural classroom. And here, what are the challenges that a teacher has to face the status quo of the normal classroom? So we can see that within this multicultural classroom, there are different subcultures in the classroom. What are the subcultures that we can see in the classroom are gender, then class, then culture, race, other subcultures, exceptionalities. Let us have a brief discussion on these different subcultures. Let us think of the subculture of gender. We know that there are male, female, then the transgender. So here we can see that there are different types of students that comes from different gender backgrounds. Then the next one, that is class. We know that there is the socio-economic status is different. The students' family background, they belong to the middle class, the high class or the low class family structures. So how do we cater to the needs of the learners who are belonging to these different class structures? Next one, culture. We know that the cultural background of each children is different. Then the races, There we can take in Indian context the different caste and tribes. What are the different caste and tribes that students belong to? Then regarding the exceptionalities, there we can see that nowadays we are giving importance for the inclusive classroom where the students, including the disabled children, are also accompanied or involved in the normal classroom. They are also accommodated in the normal classroom. Hence, we know that the subcultures in the classroom. As a classroom, we may call it as a multicultural classroom, but there are different subcultures within the classroom. Next one, let us see again what is this multicultural education. In that context, we can say that it is a process that permeates all aspects of school practices, policies, and organization as a means to ensure the highest levels of academic achievement for all students. It values cultural differences and affirms the pluralism that students, their communities, and teachers reflect. So here, as already mentioned, we can see that there are different types of cultures that are coming and the multicultural concept. So here the culture, what does it represent? It represents the histories, attitudes, behaviors, languages, values, beliefs, and uniqueness which distinguish each racial or subcultural group in a society. Each of us has a historical heritage and a contemporary heritage that comprise our present culture. So here we know that the cultural background of students are different. So in each culture, the practices, what they are doing or they are used to, it is different. So in a cultural, with a different cultural background of students, when they come together within the miniature classroom, which is the basic of the society, we can see that there to deal with each learner's needs, it's really a difficult task. So to understand the background of the learners is very much important. Then in this context that comes the importance of the culturally responsive teaching. What does it mean, the culturally responsive teaching? To quote Gay, this culturally responsive teaching defines culturally responsive teaching as using the cultural knowledge, prior experiences, and performance styles of diverse students to make learning more appropriate and effective for them. It teaches to and through the strength of the students. So what is importance here? We know that as we already discussed that the backgrounds are different. The preference, the learning preferences of the learners are diverse. Then regarding the learning styles, each learner learns through different learning styles. Some are tactile learners, some are visual learners, some are kinesthetic learners. So how a teacher can cater to the diverse needs of learners. Besides these learning styles, the class consists of the children with different disabilities, intellectual disability, visual disability, hearing disability. So here we can see that the needs of the special children should also be met by the teacher. So this multicultural concept, it's a very important concept that should be dealt by the teacher while handling the class. Then when we look at the screen, we can see that it represents diversities. What are the diversities? The diversities, here we can see the color is different, the size of the arms is different, the designs is different. But in spite of all these diversities, we can see the unity. So here this is a miniature representative of the actual classroom, that students are from different racial backgrounds, castes, tribes, the colors are different, their linguistic backgrounds are different, their learning styles are different. But yet there should be a uniqueness among them. When we teach a classroom, we have to handle in such a way. So here, this culturally responsive teaching, that is an important concept that is coming in the multicultural classroom. So what do we mean by this culturally responsive teaching? It does not focus on stereotypes of the culture. What are the stereotypes of the culture? We know that the food may be different, the art practices may be different, but it is based on ways of communicating and learning that are familiar to the student, along with the themes that are empowering to them. So how the teacher communicate to the learners in different ways, and the learning that are familiar to the student. So the language of the student should be used. Then only they can understand what are the learning concepts that is taking place in the classroom. So this culturally responsive teaching is an important thing. Then normally the next questions may come, how can we adopt this culturally responsive teaching? In this case, we can see the 4 approaches which is put forward by banks, and these 4 approaches can be involved in the content integration. What are the 4 approaches? The 4 approaches: the contribution approach, the additive approach, the transformation approach, the social action approach. Let us have a discussion on these different approaches. The first one, the contribution approach. What do we mean by this contribution approach? So you can see from the screen the bank's 4 levels of integration of multicultural content. How can we integrate the multicultural content in the actual curriculum? There are 4 levels. Level 1, the contribution approach. That this approach, it focuses on heroes, holidays, and discrete cultural elements. What do we mean by this? That this contribution approach, they include the racial or the ethnic heroes and heroines. We know that, suppose we take a subject from history, what do we learn? We can see that we are learning mainly a topic on Indian freedom struggle, the contributions made by the major heroes like Mahatma Gandhi, Gopalakrishna Gokhale, Balagangadhara Tilak. So these are the major heroes what we are learning. Whether we consider the contributions made by peasants, really the peasant movements made an impact in the freedom struggle, where they question the hegemony or the authority of the ownership of the lands, whether the real owners of the lands are there, or how the tenants are cheated. So we can see that for the levying of the high taxes also, they raise their voice. So are we giving importance for these peasant movements? So this type, in the contributions approach, what we can see is that the contributions made by the ethnic heroes and heroines should be included in the curriculum. There is not much change in the curriculum, and also to include the discrete cultural elements. What are the discrete cultural elements? The foods, the artifacts, the arts, the musics, the folklores can also be included in the curriculum. So this is about the contribution approach. Let us see the second level, that the additive approach, where the content, concepts, themes and perspectives are added to the curriculum without changing its basic structure. So what is happening is there, the content, concepts, themes and perspectives, these are added to the existing curriculum. How can we add? That may be the next question. We can add by giving an additional unit on some of the concepts, or an additional handouts which deals with these multicultural concepts to the learners. So this approach, hence it is known as additive, something added to the existing curriculum. Coming to level 3, we can see that it mentions about the transformation approach. So here from the term itself, we can see some transformation is taking place. The structure of the curriculum is changed to enable students to view concepts, issues, events and themes from the perspectives of diverse ethnic and cultural groups. So here, how this transformation is taking place. So what is important here is that the transformation is taking place in the curriculum itself. There are some changes in the basic structure of the curriculum. For example, you can see that suppose a learner might be asking, how would you teach ornaments in a multicultural perspective? This may be the question. How can we teach ornaments in a multicultural perspective? So for this question, you can see that the important thing is the transformation approach. How can we teach these ornaments in a multicultural perspective? By adopting transformation approach. Here you can see that there are different questions that is surrounding the main theme, that is ornaments. The first one, who makes them? Second one, who wears them? Third one, what are they made of? Then, what ornaments are worn in other countries? On what part of our body do we wear them? When do we wear them? And where are they made? So here the discussion will starts from the first question, who makes them? So here, who makes them? Normally, the answer will come the goldsmiths. But in some countries, they may call them as in different names. In some countries, their materials may be the silver, so the silversmiths, or jewelers. So different types of names can be seen. Then the next question comes, who wears them? Normally, the answer may be the females. Not at all. We can see that the male and females, they are wearing. And on what part of the body they are wearing. That denotes that where do they wear these ornaments? That question leads to on what part of the body they will wear. So the neck, the hands, the ears, and we can see that even the gents in some caste or culture, they will wear earrings on one ear. So here we can see there is a cultural practice behind wearing earring on one ear. So this concept, wearing of rings, it leads to the learning of the cultural practices of that particular culture. And the next question, what are they made of? It leads to the question of the raw materials. What type of materials, raw materials are used? So here also we can connect it with the geographical locations where the materials, raw materials are found. And in some countries, gold is not available in all locations. In some areas only gold is available, the silver is major available, and the bronze is available. So the raw materials we can see, we can interlink to the geographical aspect from where these materials are available. Coming to the next question, there we can see what ornaments are worn in other countries. So here this question leads to the country specific ornaments, what they are using. Are they using the bangles always or the earrings? So all these things we can find out why they are not wearing, or in that particular country what type of ornaments are worn. Coming to the next question, we can see that when do these ornaments are worn? Here we can see that it links to the celebration of festivals, that some special occasions, not only the festivals, the occasion is also important. So these occasions also give some kind of insight into the wearing of ornaments. And where are they made? This also leads to the location, the region wise where these ornaments are made of. So here we can see that the levels we have discussed, the three levels or the three approaches to multicultural education. Coming to level 4, let us have a look at the level 4, the social action approach. There we can see the students make decisions on important social issues and take actions to help solve them. So what is the feature of this approach is that it is similar to the transformation approach, but it adds some more components such as taking social actions and social analysis, that criticism, the critical analysis will be there for the social issues and social actions, and make the learners to be strong in taking decisions and solving the problems. So the decision making skills can be improved through this social action approach and making them to take actions. How to respond to a particular issue. So, for example, we can see that how the racial discrimination in the classroom or discriminating learners in terms of gender, how do we deal with these issues? That is an important thing. For this, the learners can take some kind of social actions. They will try out with the various questions they will raise. There will be a critical discussions, and then they will come to conclusions that how to deal with such type of discriminative practices, how to overcome, and what are the measures to be taken. So these such type of things are important in the social action approach. So in this session, we have discussed about what do we mean by this multicultural education, where it permeates all the differences that exist in the classroom, and to include or to make the teaching inclusive, where it can be approachable to all. What are the different approaches that can be adopted to teach a concept in multicultural perspective? Related with this, we have discussed about the 4 approaches put forward by banks, such as the contribution approach, the additive approach, the transformation approach, and the social action approach. So here, the major thing is that in what aspect the teacher wants to include this multicultural perspective in the curriculum, just in a contribution way, or in an addition way, or to want to make a change, transform the curriculum, or make the learners to take social action where it makes the learners more critical thinkers and best decision makers. Hope that all of you might have understood about the multicultural classroom and adopting culturally responsive strategy. Thank you.